We have officially gotten our first look at the newest Avatar series, Avatar 7 Havens, at San Diego Comic-Con. It is a little bit more controversial than you might expect, though the Avatar franchise is no stranger to controversy, but it's been over a decade since Korra ended. I am a massive fan of both The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra, so I'm really excited for this show. We also got a little bit of a small update on the Legend of Aang movie, so let's talk about all of this stuff. So first off, we got this new artwork for the show, which showcases the new art style, which seems to be the source of most of the controversy for the new Avatar series. A lot of people think it looks too cartoony, too kiddie, I guess. I quite like the style. I think that I like that they change art styles every time they do a new show. The Legend of Korra didn't look like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Even the flashback episodes beginnings in The Legend of Korra that went back to Avatar 1 had a completely different art style than Legend of Korra. I like the idea that they kind of shift the art styles depending on the era, depending on the setting, depending on the characters. I think that's cool. I think that's fine. It doesn't look drastically different than the other shows enough that you can't believe that it's the same show. I also just really love these character designs. I think Avatar Pavi, who's the new main character, looks awesome. She's a really cool design, a cool look at this airbender here, and her animal spirit guide is like this monkey cat. You gotta have a great animal guide, and I love that. I love the design of this thing. Very excited for this show. So what we know about it so far is that it's going to be 26 half-hour episodes over 2 seasons. That's all they've announced, but I bet there's going to be more than that. I think it's going to be more than 26 episodes. Personally, that's what I believe. We don't have confirmation about that yet. I would imagine that they're saving an announcement for like, oh, it got renewed, we're doing more episodes. But 26 episodes doesn't feel like enough episodes for one of these shows for the kind of lore and mythology that they explore. I think this will probably get at least one more season after that. It also sounds like they've got the story all mapped out, which is really great, especially given how most of Korra's struggles stemmed from how off the cuff that story had to be because of the way Nick renewed it and kind of just strung them along. Legend of Korra kind of had this sort of mini-series format where each season acted as its own mini-series, and then the result of that season would lead into the next sort of mini-series season. Now, I actually really like that format conceptually. I just think, obviously, because they were strung along and didn't know how long they were going to be able to go, that the story struggled a bit, especially in like seasons 1 and 2. I think seasons 1 and 2 have a lot of issues, whereas like sort of the end of season 2 leading into season 3 leading into season 4 feels like Korra really got moving and had good momentum, and like the story felt a little bit more interconnected, even though it was still taking on this sort of mini-series seasonal approach. So this is interesting. This follows earthbending twins, which has always been like a big fan idea out there, that, oh, what if the next Avatar was twins and like one of them had 2 elements and the other one had the other 2 elements? And I would say, thankfully, in my opinion, that's not what they're doing. There are 2 earthbending twins. One is the Avatar, one is not. I actually think that's way more interesting than one having part of the abilities and one having the other part of the abilities. I think that creates a really interesting sort of dynamic between the two. Like, oh, we are twins, but you have been anointed this important role by the universe and I haven't. How will that affect their understanding of each other, their relationship with each other, and their, fears and insecurities about themselves and their place in the world? I think that's really good stuff, especially because Avatar has always been about familial drama in a lot of ways. And so like, I think that's just a really great hook, and it's a really good idea to sort of create issues and drama and, mess with the character dynamics. Of course, it's also possible that maybe they will slowly reveal that like one of them actually does have some Avatar abilities. They got some residual Avatar abilities. Maybe one of them can bend all 4 elements and one of them can go into the Avatar state. I don't know how I feel about it. It would totally depend on how they execute it. Or, maybe they both are the Avatar. Maybe they both can bend all 4 elements and like they don't find out that the other one can also do that till later. If they did that in a way where like the reveal was really exciting and they were still able to sort of explore the, oh my God, we're twins, but you're the Avatar and I'm not, dynamic and like drama, I feel like you can get the best of both worlds there. You can totally have your cake and eat it too. But there's a lot of possibilities here. I'm really excited about it. Now let's talk about the premise of this show, because this is also a little bit of a source of controversy. I'm really excited about this aspect. A young earthbender discovers she's the new Avatar after Korra, but in this dangerous era, that title marks her as humanity's destroyer, not its savior. Hunted by both human and spirit enemies, she and her long-lost twin must uncover their mysterious origins and save the 7 Havens before civilization's last strongholds collapse. Obviously, this is interesting, and I understand why it's controversial. I mean, it's clear to me that the show isn't going to be like throwing Korra under the bus and being like, Korra is the worst avatar and she destroyed the world. Obviously, Korra did something that saved the world, but the result of that was this, you know, sort of decimation apocalyptic scenario. But Korra did something that obviously sacrificed herself and completely saved the world from total ruin and destruction. And I feel like a lot of the show is going to be about Korra's name and legacy being restored through the narrative that is told through these new characters. The show has always been about legacy. Aang had to deal with Roku's legacy, Zuko had to deal with his father's legacy, and Korra had to live up to Aang's legacy. Like, all of this is about what came before and how that affects how you are perceived. That's like one of the big hooks of the Avatar franchise. So I'm really eager to see how this plays out. I actually am also really eager to see Pavi like get to talk to Korra. You know, at this point, it's the one Avatar she will potentially be able to talk to, presuming Korra never reconnected to the previous Avatar spirits. I'm a little torn on the like, oh, now the world has been destroyed to this degree, because it feels a little bit like they wanted to backtrack into fantasy territory when a big complaint about Korra was that it was becoming too modern. And I do understand that inclination. You don't want the show to become fully modern, I guess. I don't know, but I would be interested in seeing that at some point. But I do understand when you're like returning to the franchise for the first time in 10 years, you probably don't want to venture outside of the norm too drastically. Like, maybe in the future we can get a show that is set in modern day, or in the future, like a cyberpunk show, I think would be cool, as long as it's not like just the immediate next thing we get. There are just so many possibilities with this franchise. Like, truly, this is my favorite franchise in the world because I think the universe is so rich and endlessly possible. Like, there's just so much you can do with it. I would watch shows set in so many different eras in this franchise. I just think it's so rich and there's so much to explore. So it's Avatar Pavi is this main character. As you can see, she also has a wooden leg here, which I think is really interesting. So we're gonna have like a disabled avatar, and I'm curious how she will like supplement this with bending, and whether or not we'll get to see her like have really unique and interesting uses of her bending to, you know, to make up for maybe a struggle to use this peg leg that she's got here. I think that's really interesting. I mean, that's one of the coolest things we saw in Avatar: The Last Airbender was, I can't remember the character's name, but the character in the wheelchair who, you know, they created that like sort of glider for him where he could glide around in it. And they've always been really cool and creative in those kinds of ways in these shows. And so I'm pretty eager to see how that translates to a main character. The creators of both Avatar and Korra, Mike DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, are returning. I love those guys. They're really great. I got to interview them a few years ago. That was such a joy, like really, truly a career highlight. They're really awesome. I'm so glad that they're returning to this world. They kind of left the live action Avatar show in an upset, you know, manner. They didn't really like the direction that was going, and I don't blame them after watching it. And I love that they return to this world to like expand it in the ways that I always dreamed of them doing. I just think this world has so many possibilities. So for them to oversee this and bring in cool young talent to write all of these new and exciting possibilities in the Avatar universe, I'm really stoked about it. So they also said that the Avatar world is very different and it's more fantasy, otherworldly kind of scenario, pulling influences from Mobius and 90s anime series. I guess I'm not familiar enough with these things to know exactly what that means, but I do feel like you've got a lot of possibilities based on the end of Korra here for like how this world changes. Depending on how this scenario took place and what happened here, you've got a lot of possibilities. Like maybe this was some kind of spirit attack. Maybe there's something spirit related. By the end of The Legend of Korra, spirits had become a big part of the regular world and not just the spirit world. The way that might evolve and grow over all of these years, it's very possible that like this world feels very different than the Legend of Korra world did, than the Avatar Last Airbender world did, because you've got this integration of spirits, and maybe, you know, this apocalyptic event that we don't know anything about yet has also kind of shifted the way this world works as well. Obviously, the interworkings of this world, the whole Seven Havens idea seems to be that these Seven Havens are the last remaining strongholds of humanity in this post-apocalyptic world. And so, you know, it will be interesting to see how those Seven Havens operate, whether or not they are like at each other's throats, what kind of people have formed these havens, whether they've like formed within little pockets of types of benders, or, you know, like what happened to Republic City. There's so much to possibly dive into here. Again, people on Twitter don't seem to like the art style. comparing it to Dragon Prince. I'm sorry, but if you're comparing this to Dragon Prince, I will never take anything you ever say seriously in my entire life. That is just an embarrassingly stupid comparison. This looks so much better than Dragon Prince in so many ways. I'm excited to see it in motion. Obviously, this is just an image, but like, I like the colors. I like how saturated it is. I like how vivid it is. I love these character designs. I think Pavi is an incredible design. I'm really excited to see it. And, you know, I don't know. I get frustrated with the way people hate change. They're just so unwilling to let things change that I'm like, well, you have the other shows. You can just go watch those. I think this art style should suit the story being told. We also got an update on the Avatar movie, which will be the first released thing under Avatar Studios in these, you know, this new line of series. We've got the Legend of Aang. They say it will have a unique animation style. There's nothing that looks like this. It's 2D animation with these really beautiful deep canvas environments. It's gonna blow you away. I hope that's true, man. It releases October 9th, 2026 in theaters. I want a gorgeous 2D animated movie in the theater so badly. And like, if I get to go sit in a movie theater and watch Avatar, The Legend of Aang, and it is one of the most beautiful 2D things I've seen in the theater in years, I'm going to be a happy dude. I mean, obviously, hopefully the story is great too. And hopefully it, you know, upholds the legacy of the series and like is a satisfying follow-up. But like, even just on a technical level, if this thing looks great and I get to sit in a movie theater and watch it, I'm very excited about that. Flying Bark is working on it. They do incredible action animation. They did the Rise of the TMNT, Moon Girl, Glitch Text. Their stuff looks excellent. And so the fact that they're getting like this big budget 2D animated Avatar movie, I'm like just beyond stoked to see what this thing looks like. We also know that the Seven Havens show is not releasing till 2027, which is interesting because it seems like they're pretty far along in the show already. I imagine they're waiting for the sort of relaunch of the Avatar franchise and Avatar Studios until The Legend of Aang hits the theaters. They want the reintroduction of the franchise to be us revisiting the characters we loved from the first show. So that will hit the theaters. It'll be our first exploration of Avatar Studios, seeing these characters after the original show. And then we are going to probably have just kind of hit the ground running. I imagine Avatar 7 Havens is going to start releasing in 2027, have a season a year for a few years. And I also expect that they'll probably start producing other shows and start working on whatever the next movie is. Hopefully it just means we get a ton of Avatar content that doesn't really have much in terms of a break. Hopefully it means like we get a season of a show a year and a movie every few years. For the foreseeable future, Avatar Studios is just in full force. I'm excited. I just love this world so much. I'm not often one to just be like, oh, let's just expand a universe endlessly until we don't care about it anymore. But the thing about Avatar is that like the expansion of this universe makes it feel bigger. Like if we're exploring characters in different eras, just the entire hook of the show of the Avatar being an important role in every single era. Every show can feel different. Every show can do its own thing, and it's not going to make the other shows feel smaller or too deeply affected. I would love an Avatar 1 show. Apparently Steven Yeun is in the Legend of Aang movie. We don't know who he's playing, but it would be sick if he was Avatar 1. Honestly, a show I want to see is the second Avatar after Avatar 1, because that person must have gone insane thinking that some spirit was talking to them. They must have been like, am I going crazy? This guy is telling me that I am the Avatar and that I can bend all the elements and that I have to balance the world. That would have been the most complicated and difficult transition for any of them to the first Avatar to the second Avatar. There's no precedent for this. We've never done this before. My other dream is like an anthology show where every episode explores a different Avatar. That means we could get some of the Avatars we've seen in both shows, and we could also explore new Avatars and just like cool one-off stories. And that could also, create backdoor pilots. Like, oh, they loved this Avatar in this episode of the anthology show, so we're gonna start pursuing a series about that. Kyoshi has some great books, but like she lived for 200 years and those books take place when she's like a teenager. So it would be sick to like really explore some Kyoshi stuff. Maybe they'll do a movie. There's just, again, infinite possibilities. I just rambled about this show for like 20 minutes. I truly love Avatar so much. It's my favorite. I don't know if you can see it, but like right here, this shelf is like all my library editions of the comics and the art books and the Kyoshi books, and I have so much Avatar shit on this shelf. I love those shows. So that's what I got for you. What do you guys think of the art? What do you guys think about Seven Havens? What do you think of the premise? I'm very, 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 very excited for new Avatar content. I'm just stoked, and I will cover it on the main channel. Like I've only done a handful of Avatar videos over there, but like I'm gonna be full force become an Avatar channel when that stuff happens. I'll cover other things too, but like I can't stop myself from geeking out about Avatar. And so like new episodes drop of the new show, I'm going to be talking about it immediately. So that's what we got. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you thought about the stuff we've seen and all this news. And stay tuned. Got more Comic-Con coverage coming, and we'll talk to you later. Peace.
I stay mellow watching Johnny Two Cellos. He talks cartoons. He's a really cool fellow. He keeps you posted on adult cartoons. If that's what you're into, then grab a spoon and a very big bowl of your favorite cereal. Feels like Saturday morning cartoon material. Johnny Two Cellos, watch him on YouTube. Now enjoy this groove and bust a move.